And the next subject is just simply called Jesus. All right? And it's like, oh, I know this subject. Like everybody knows about Jesus. Everybody knows about Jesus, you know, like, and listen, there's a very big following for the phrase WWJD. What is that? What would Jesus do? All right? What would Jesus do? Which means if you face a situation that your first thought should be, what would Jesus do in this situation? And seek to do that. All right? Now that's a very good thing to aim for, isn't it? To live and to be like Jesus. What would Jesus do? You know, one of the dangers of that is sometimes we say what Jesus would do, but is it what Jesus would do? Have you actually read what Jesus did? We're going to take time to actually read the Gospels and go through and find out what Jesus did, why he behaved like he did, what he actually did. Do you know what I mean? Because he had a Syrophoenician woman come to him and say, "Come, my daughter is cruelly demon-possessed." I'm reading from Matthew 15, verse 21. Okay, yeah, it's good. Matthew 15:20. Now, I'm thinking, what would Jesus do? WWJD. What would Jesus do? All right? And the trouble is that Jesus often behaves very un-Jesus-ish. He doesn't, you know, what we do is we pretty him up a little bit and don't really confront some of the things he did. And the best part about this is we're going to come to the Gospels and say, Jesus, we want to see you. We want to really see you. I want to know you. I want to be confronted by you because I understand you are the Son of God. You operated in perfect love, perfect flowing of the Spirit, and I want to get to know you because that's who I'm being transformed into the image of. And so, and it says, and Jesus went away from there, this is verse 21 of Matthew 15, withdrew into the district of Tyre and Sidon, and behold, a Canaanite woman came out from that region and began to cry out, saying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, my daughter is cruelly demon-possessed," which is probably the Greek demonized. There's probably no... Now, what would Jesus do? See, he wasn't wearing the band. He didn't know what to do. See, what would Jesus do? If you went up to someone who did not know this story and read to that part, what would you say the next verse would be? He went there and he set her free. Is that right? Can you imagine Jesus doing anything except saying, "I will come"? The only difference if the woman said, "No need to come, just say the word." And, okay, so like the Roman centurion, don't, you know, because that's what, when the Roman came, Jesus said, "Well, let's go." And he said, "No, don't need to just speak." So here we have a girl, a little girl is cruelly, it actually puts the word cruelly demonized. She is suffering. A little girl is suffering. And Jesus responds with, "But he did not answer her a word." He wasn't wearing the "what would Jesus do?" Can you imagine Jesus didn't even answer her? Did he not hear her? And his disciples came to him and kept asking him. Why did they keep asking? Because she kept asking, saying, the disciples so full of love, "Send her away! She's shouting out after us. Can you tell her to go away, Jesus?" They don't even say, "Oh, Jesus, I think we should go and heal her. I think we should fix the..." Like, "Tell her to go away. She's bothering us." And Jesus says nothing to the woman until now, because he turns around and says, and I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's not a "what would Jesus do" answer. Sorry, I'm not sent to help you Syrophoenician Canaanite people. Can you, this is what I'm saying is, we have a picture of Jesus that is often, we take this and say, too hard, put that aside. Now I want to find another scripture which I can relate to better. The one where I can understand Jesus. Does it make sense? So we actually, and I'll tell you this, there's an awful lot of those type scriptures in there. That we know the stories, but we're not. Now, I tell you this, I am 100% convinced Jesus is not being nasty here. This is the most loving and excellent response. I'm not going to go into it now, but this is the best answer. I think I shared last week a little bit, how it came. But she came, began to bow down before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered, and not having his badge, he said, it's not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. We are talking about a cruelly demonized girl. And this is Jesus' response to a mother who is crying out. Can you understand how un-Jesus it seems? If someone came up, if this part was not in the Bible, and someone came to you and said, here's a story I've read about Jesus, you would say, that's not Jesus. Does it make sense? Because at the first reading, it just reeks of all this stuff. And what I'm finding is often I used to read this and I used to get offended for the lady. You too, Shola. Who else? I used to get offended for her. All I could hear is the offensive words that Jesus used. And it was not until God dealt with me to actually read this and get past my offense that I could actually read this story. There were so many things that I didn't fully read because all I could hear was the offense. I couldn't actually get to know Jesus because I was offended. My offense. Do you know what? You know what one of the things that God told me was? You're offended, but she wasn't. You are more offended than she was, and it was her daughter and she was in the situation. And I suddenly thought, that's right. I'm offended. Sometimes you get offended at someone else, and they're all right. Because they understand what's happening. But you, the third party, get your nose out of joint. And I'm the third party getting my nose out of joint, and God said, until you drop your offense, you cannot see this. And I had to lose my offense, and then when I began to show, and he began to open up, I began to weep and say, I am so sorry I ever thought that of you, because it wasn't until I learnt, I could see what a master he was. And you say, how can you say he's a master? He called her a dog. All right, see? You're still offended. You won't be able to hear it. Can't break through. He said, but she said, Lord, even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall on the master's table. Then Jesus answered, oh woman, your faith is great. Be done to you for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed at once. Oh. See, Jesus faced one of the most difficult deliverance situations he faced. And he had to handle it perfectly to get it done. I don't know what that woman's issues were, but how many know that with even demonized situation, there's handles and situations, there's boundaries, there's gaps. Jesus is facing this, and she's yelling, and Jesus is not saying anything. He was being led by the Spirit. He was the Holy Spirit, The disciples are as clueless as ever. So they're all over it. So this is what we are going to come to the Gospels and say, we want to know you, Jesus. Truly know you, Jesus. How did you handle this? How did you do? What situations? Jesus faced intense difficulties, and yet he was able to handle them so well. That's what our study is going to be. When we study Jesus, we want to be confronted by the real Jesus that's in here. All right? Not the little sugar-coated gospel message that we might think we've got sometimes. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong what we've got, but I'm just saying, can you see out of that story how a lot of times we don't know what to do with it, so we just put it out there, by confronting, embracing, seeing Jesus as he is, gives us a chance to really see him and love him. I'm excited about the whole thing. I do remember the last time we preached this, I got to know Jesus like never before. All right? But we want to get to know the real Jesus as manifested in the Word, not our picture of Jesus, which can be a little bit faulty. Come along, invite someone, even if they want to just sit in on these classes, even if that's the only class they do, get to know Jesus. What a great set to do.